Now, where do you think Florida State's playoff picture is on this one? I mean, that was a big win over Syracuse. Is Florida State in the playoff conversation now?
Well, I still think that there's a mathematical chance that everyone in the ACC can go 4-4,
I know, it's
including Florida
disturbing.
State.
Oh, it's disturbing. The winner, you talked about it. We've talked about it on our shows on NBC6 down here. There's an argument that the Coastal Division winner could be 4-4. There's a legitimate argument that could happen. That it could be Wake Forest at 12-0 in a perfect world. Wake Forest could be 12-0 against 8-4 North Carolina, 8-4 Virginia Tech. Hot garbage Miami could get hot all of a sudden and do something. That's where, yeah. And that's what I'm saying. Georgia Ron is big right here. Imagine Bama playing Iowa or Wake Forest. It's a cute thing on paper. It's a cute story. It's a good, feel-good story. The playoff committee has made it very clear by the fact that there have been several years, one year was Ohio State, one year it was Alabama, where teams get into the playoff without having even won their own division, based on sheer name recognition alone. Titles don't mean anything. Winning your division, winning your conference don't mean anything in that one. That's happened several times. So if you think that it's not already set up, that's going to be Bama, Georgia, winner of the Big Ten, and right now I would say Oklahoma, unless Oklahoma falters, and then it may be Oregon or whoever wins the Pac-12. That's where it's already set up right now. So basically, those are play-out games at that point. Alabama-Auburn is a play-out game to knock Alabama out of the playoff. Georgia-Florida is a play-out game at this point. Penn State-Ohio State is a play-out game. There's no more play-in games. The four are essentially set. It's now the question is, does it play out that way?
I'm not so concerned with trying to figure out who would win a game. I think we play this way too often, this down here, and we make assumptions about things. This doesn't happen in other sports because they actually decide what happens on the field. In my opinion, which my opinion shouldn't count, I think we should be basing these playoff spots based on objective analysis and wins and losses. But there's no comparison between Iowa shouldn't even be placed in that same sentence with Wake Forest. Iowa's a legitimate football team. In Wake Forest, I credit Dave Clawson. I think he's an excellent coach. I think they roughly have a top 25 to 30 team, regardless of their record right now. As Jason just read off, they've faced the soft portion of the schedule, and it's going to get difficult here in 3 weeks for them. But Iowa's a really good football team, so I don't know that Alabama would blow out Iowa. Iowa's just as good as Florida, at least.
I was at that Orange Bowl when they played Louisville. Riley Skinner, their quarterback. It's a good story. It's just Wake Forest picked the wrong year to be good. Wake Forest picked a bad year to be good. They picked a good year where they are taking advantage of the fact that the ACC has taken a step back. Luke Walker, we've been talking about it. We'll talk about that game. I think North Carolina, let's talk about it a little bit. Here's your 3 reasons why Florida State has a shot to beat North Carolina. Number 1, they're not afraid of them after last year. You could say that North Carolina played a great second half. They did. They had an exceptional second half. But Florida State, the fear factor is not there against North Carolina. That's number 1. Number 2, Florida State has been, you could argue, they did well against Notre Dame in the first game, but I could say they probably played their best in the last 6 quarters of football. The second half against Louisville and all last week against Syracuse. They're finally getting, I don't want to say getting hot, but they're getting warm right now at the right time. And number 3, as of right now, and once again, North Carolina could easily win on Saturday. We're just being honest here. Mack Brown doesn't know how to beat Florida State. Mack Brown has never beaten Florida State as the coach. As a head coach, he's never beaten his alma mater. So I don't think Florida State fears North Carolina at this point. Now, that being said, Sam Howell is a phenomenal quarterback. Sam Howell is a phenomenal person on the field. He's the person you want as a field general, manning the offense. And I think rain or whatnot, I think Sam Howell is going to do enough of a job to not lose that game. It's going to be up to, does Florida State have enough in them after that win against Syracuse to play up to the level of expectation, to play up to last year's game. That's the one disadvantage Florida State has in this one. Florida State came in last year, and I'll admit it, we said that Florida State had no shot of beating North Carolina. North Carolina came into Tallahassee, number 5 team in the country. We could argue about how they were, whether they should have been ranked number 5 that high in the season. But they came in. They were supposed to run shot all over us, and Florida State was able to pull off the upset. If you don't think Mac Brown is a good enough coach to where he's got them focused and saying, do not lose focus on these guys. Remember, Florida State was a 1-3 team when we played North Carolina last year. Our one was against Jacksonville State. We'd gotten blown out by Miami, convincing loss to Notre Dame, and upset loss to Georgia Tech by that point. And we took advantage of the situation. We are not going to be looked over in this game. That's the one disadvantage Florida State has. Is Florida State can't come in and say, oh, golly gee, we hope we just want to play well. No, Florida State has to play like the Florida State team that has beaten the hell out of North Carolina so many times before.
North Carolina coming off a 38-7 win over Duke, a Duke team that was previously 3-1, with like Wake Forest, a soft beginning to their season. And Sam Howell threw for 321, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Ty Chandler, the transfer from Tennessee, is their best running back, and Josh Downs, their best wide receiver, at a big Orange Bowl against Texas A&M, had 8 catches against the Dukies for $168 and a touchdown.
And that's going to be the question: is which North Carolina team is going to show up? Is it going to be the North Carolina team that just ran all over Duke last week, or is it going to be the North Carolina team that essentially looked like hot garbage the week before against Georgia Tech? And yes, Luke is making an excellent point right there. They played great last week, but the week before they played like hot garbage. So which North Carolina team is going to show up? Is North Carolina going to play down? And I'm going to offend my alma mater here. Is North Carolina going to play down to the level of their competition, or are they going to step their game up? Is Mac Brown going to be able to do enough to build them back up? Yeah, and unfortunately, I think Georgia Ron, I hate to agree with you on this one, but I think you're 100% right. I worry about Adam Fuller. Yes, we won last week, but Adam Fuller, I don't know why he still has a job. I don't know why he returned this season. I don't get it, but there has to come a point. And I feel like if you didn't make that change after the Wake Forest game, I feel like we're stuck with Adam Fuller at this point, because it's not going to make much sense to fire somebody with 6 games left of the season. So here's hoping that anything turns around.
Do you have a prediction for Saturday's game in Chapel Hill?
I think Florida State has a legitimate shot. If you're asking me to put money on it, and you're giving me the 17.5 points, I take Florida State and the 17.5 points. I think Florida State will be a lot closer than a lot of people expect. I think North Carolina is angry after last season. I think North Carolina is to use the word pissed about that they lost to us. I think I have my own banner now. I'm very excited about this one right here. I think Florida State will keep it a lot closer than people think, but I think in the end, I think Florida State goes into their bye week with a 1-5 record. And I think North Carolina wins 41-28.